Hello everyone, welcome to Automotive Megatrends. Thanks for joining us for today's Megatrends webinar. I'm Martin Carl, I'm the editor of Automotive World and Megatrends magazine, and I'm going to be moderating the session today. As usual, Megatrends webinars give us the opportunity to invite expert speakers to present on a topic, and then we invite the audience to put questions to them in a Q&A which follows the presentation. As I said, I'll be moderating today's event, and I'm delighted to welcome speakers from Elektrobit and Argus Cybersecurity, which itself is a subsidiary of Elektrobit, and we're going to be hearing about cybersecurity today. A little background to the topic. As vehicles become more connected to the internet, they're increasingly vulnerable to cyber attacks, making end-to-end protection paramount. Over the next hour, Elizabeth Weitz, senior security expert at Elektrobit, and Joram Berholtz, Director of Business Development at Argus Cybersecurity. They're going to outline how to maximize protection, reduce complexity, introduce multiple independent layers of security, and implement methods throughout the vehicle's life cycle. Elizabeth and Joram will provide expert insight into how to establish reliable end-to-end security with cryptographic algorithms and protocols, verification and authentication methods, HSM, secure boot, IDPS, connectivity protection, and an automotive security operations center to ensure reliable end-to-end protection. So we're going to hear a lot today. There'll be plenty in the slides, so we will be making those slides available. We'll give you an email within the next 24 hours to let you know how and when you can access those slides, and also an on-demand recording of the webinar. So the slides will be from the backbone of a presentation of about half an hour or so, after which there will be an opportunity to put questions to our speakers. If you'd like to ask a question, please use the Q&A box on the right-hand side. That's all you're going to hear from me now. I'm going to hand over to Elizabeth and Joram for end-to-end security for modern vehicle network architectures. The floor's yours.
Thank you, Martin, for this introduction. I would say let's start right away. Our today's topic is the end-to-end security of modern vehicle network architectures. So they say that the automotive industry is going to change more in the next 5 years than it did in the last 50. The two pictures from New York City show us what happened over just 13 years, more than 100 years ago. So better be prepared for that. But before diving into the details, a few words about the companies Elektrobit and Argus Cybersecurity presenting together today's webinar. At the moment, Elektrobit has more than 1,900 employees worldwide with a consistent growth. Our headquarters is located in Germany, and several more branch offices are located in 3 continents and 10 different countries all over the world. Elektrobit is owned but independent subsidiary of the Continental AG. Our software solutions are already on the streets in over 90 million vehicles and 1 billion embedded devices. Our core competencies are automotive software and products and services. The Elektrobit product and solutions cover all current trends of the automotive industry. They reach from automated driving to user experience products. Our vehicle infrastructure related solutions can provide, among others, a deep experience of more than 15 years in embedded security and automotive networks. The cybersecurity solutions are completed by our connected car products and services. In addition, Elektrobit can share its experience with engineering services and consulting. With me today is Joram Berholtz from Argus Cybersecurity. Joram, do you want to say a few words?
Hello to everyone. Argus protects connected cars and the commercial vehicle from cyber attack, providing multi-layer end-to-end cybersecurity solution and services and a software update over-the-air solution. Argus enables the auto industry to overcome the challenge and seize the opportunities of the connected car. As Lisa mentioned, Argus is part of Elektrobit. The headquarters of Argus is in Tel Aviv, Israel, and we have offices in Detroit, Silicon Valley, Stuttgart, and Tokyo. We are now about 100 people. Going back to you, Lisa.
Thank you. Joram and me present you a joint webinar today because Argus, as Joram said, is integrated into Elektrobit since 2017. Also, Argus is a separate legal entity within EB. Argus and Elektrobit act as independent software product and technology providers for OEMs and Tier 1s. The Argus and EB product service portfolio is based on an agreed software architecture, and responsibilities are split to existing core competencies which complement each other. For today's webinar, we have the following agenda. First, we will introduce the requirements to secure our automotive systems, which are defined by the current trends for the automotive industry. Then we explain how to set up several security layers, starting with creating a secure platform for every ECU. The next step will be securing the in-vehicle network, which leads us to the protection of external communication channels. In addition to the protection of the system, we will show how to monitor and analyze the system. And finally, we also talk about responding to vulnerabilities. When we talk about security, we talk about attacks from outside to our automotive systems. Probably all of us did hear about cyber attacks in the last years, months, or weeks. Security attacks might be communicated in the media with devastating consequences. A communicated successful attack might mean a damage of reputation to the brand. Together with that, in general, there comes a loss of company value and a fall of stocks. A successful attack furthermore causes high costs. Next to the effort for fixing the issue, it is expensive to recall cars and pay compensation to the customers. A successful attack to the vehicle means also customer dissatisfaction. The customer might be directly affected by the attack. That means, for example, that the customer cannot use certain functionality, or some personal data might be robbed. Or if we think about the G-Pack from Chris Walasek and Charlie Miller, the attacker could harm the driver by taking over control of the vehicle, steering and braking. Also, if the customer is not directly affected by the attack, the customer might need to go to the garage to get the issue fixed. Furthermore, an attack can have legal consequences. And it is not just about the media, we need to think about business continuity with fleet-wide ransomware. But the most important is the fact that there is no safety without security. All hacks affect companies financially, but there are also people in the car and around the car. When a car is not safe, it becomes a weapon itself and can cost many lives. And there is no safety without security. The current automotive trends are at the moment widely discussed. First of all, there is more and more online functionality and mobility within the cars. It starts with online navigation maps, an OEM online customer center, or online payment systems for functionalities inside the cars. Then the over-the-air software updates get more and more relevant. At the moment, our cars get software updates maybe once a year when we visit the garage. But the industry is evolving to regular updates around once a week. And this can only happen when the updates are distributed over the air. The trend with the probably biggest media attention is the automated driving. The car is on the one hand more connected to get information, interact with other cars, or the infrastructure, and in parallel takes over more critical safety relevant driving functionalities. And of course, it is desired to integrate consumer electronics in the cars, to play music, to interact with friends or services. The car in general is more connected to the world and in parallel takes over more critical stuff, like automated driving. That means a higher risk for security breaks and in parallel more critical functionality which can harm data as well as people. Furthermore, the most prominent published examples of car hacks were done using the car's wireless connections. All automotive trends are interconnected. Not one can exist without the other, and they all are connected and they all require security. Therefore, the automotive systems and its high-performance controllers need to fulfill several requirements and functionalities to ensure security. A higher rate of over-the-air software updates is required, not only to provide functionality and features we do not even think about today, but also to provide updates and apply security patches. To ensure automated driving, it is necessary to be able to dynamically deploy functionality within the vehicle system. If, for example, an ECU fails, its functionality needs to be shifted to another controller or to eventually to the backend. Therefore, the sensors and actuators shall be accessible by the network and need to be secured accordingly. Remote diagnostics and fleet campaigns shall help to monitor and analyze our system and to detect any kind of attack. To handle the growth of complexity and dynamically, it is necessary to break down complexity and to encapsulate our functionalities. Furthermore, to be able to do automated driving, the automotive systems need to be dependable by means of safety, security, availability, reliability, and maintainability. To handle all these needs and requirements, a reliable end-to-end security protection of our automotive systems is necessary. The concept of protecting our automotive systems is based on three main aspects: prevent, understand, and respond. We need to prevent our systems from attacks and make it as hard as possible to attack. Then we need to detect and analyze potential attacks. And in case a vehicle has really been hacked, we need the ability to respond with software updates to mitigate the damage and immunize the fleets within hours. First, I want to show you how to prevent our systems from attacks. Prevention needs to be applied on multiple security layers using hardware-enhanced cryptography and embedded security software to secure networks and a secure vehicle architecture. To protect our vehicle systems from attacks, we use multiple independent lines of defense. The first layer aims to secure each individual component or ECU. The second secures the in-vehicle networks. Then we need to secure the interfaces and connections for external access, and as well as the environment and the backend. These are all needed to span up end-to-end security protection. That means a security architecture includes the vehicle as well as all involved systems like backends or connected devices. Therefore, a security architecture needs to consider all these layers. First, we start with the protection of a single component or ECU for which we want to set up a secure platform. To understand how to secure our ECUs, we need to understand how our ECUs evolve, caused by the current automotive trends. Due to the increasing amount of functionality and complexity and the dynamic deployment required for the automotive systems, also the used microcontrollers inside the cars evolve. While we had around 100 classic ECUs in a modern car until today, the ECUs now become less in their numbers, but more and more high-performance ECUs. A classic ECU is usually designed for a certain functionality and optimized with respect to cost. That means it does not provide more resources like memory than required for this certain functionality. A classic ECU is usually a single core processor or has up to 4 cores, which can be used also for safety. Some security critical ECUs in addition have a SHI or an HSM. And they are running a classic AUTOSAR operating system. Examples for classic ECUs are, for example, the Infineon Tricore, the NXP Power Architecture, or the Renesas RH850 family. In contrast to the classic ECUs, we now implement high-performance controllers in our vehicles. These controllers are designed to support also functionality and features which are unknown at the moment of development and take over functionality dynamically. They have, for example, around 8 high-performance ARM cores and in addition 4 safety cores and an HSM or TPM module. TPM stands for Trusted Platform Module. They are running, for example, a Linux system on the performance course and in parallel to a classic AutoSAR system for the safety relevant course. An example for such a high performance controller is the Renesas RKM3. I already mentioned the hardware security module on the previous slide. An HSM module is a dedicated processor for cryptography and security. It provides features by the hardware like crypto accelerator and secure boot, provides secure memory to store keys in the device individual property, and it provides a random number generator. Feature sets are provided by the EVITA program, but it is a free programmable processor which can also run applications which have dedicated security needs. To make use of the features of an HSM, a firmware is required, like provided by Elektrobit. Due to the cryptographic features and the secure key store, the HSM is the root of trust for a secure platform. Based on this reliable secure trust anchor, authenticity and integrity of further parts of the platform, like the bootloader, can be verified, which then in turn can verify the applications. The HSM is the root of trust on which further security measures can be built up and is completed by additional security countermeasures. Not only for high-performance controllers, but for every ECU, well-known state-of-the-art security countermeasures are established, like secure flashing using signed software or diagnostic authentication at the ECU. Starting from the trust anchor and its secure boot support, the complete software can be verified on every ECU startup for integrity and authenticity. Especially for high-performance controllers, the software is arranged in partitions to break down complexity and support the dynamics. Partitions and applications are interchangeable and can be easily updated and integrated within the performance ECU. These partitions can be managed, controlled, and separated by a hypervisor. The hypervisor is responsible to provide or restrict rights on resources. These are basic steps to set up the secure platform for every component. When we have secured every component, we need to create our second line of defense. The ECUs do communicate with each other. They send messages, they exchange information, and they trigger actions for other components. So also these networks need to be secured. Therefore, we set up a secure onboard communication, use secure network segmentation, and in-vehicle network protection. When a car is attacked, in many cases, the attack is executed on the vehicle network. Attacks can be, for example, tampering of messages. That means a message on the bus is modified. For example, the bit inside a message which indicates that the car's doors shall be closed is changed to open the doors. Or ECUs can also be spoofed. That means messages on the bus are sent by a malicious entity which pretends to be an authorized entity. Or also valid bus messages can be recorded and replayed on a later point in time when this message is not valid anymore. That is a so-called replay attack. To protect the internal vehicle communication from these kind of attacks, we can apply the classic secure onboard communication. It realizes flexible and resource-efficient security protection mechanisms for data on automotive networks like CAN, FlexRay, or Ethernet. It secures every bus message with a freshness value and a message authentication code to ensure authenticity, integrity, and freshness. The Transport Layer Security Protocol is a well-established and existing standard to secure Ethernet communication. It can also be used inside the car to secure Ethernet connection between two entities. But as all these mechanisms are based on cryptographic calculations, securing communication means a latency to the communication. To minimize this latency, preset cryptographic keys are used to secure communication where possible, and especially for time-critical communication. what I told you before about the evolution of ECUs to high-performance controllers is also reflected by the evolution of vehicle network architectures. In the past, we had central gateway architectures, as shown on the left, which were grown over time. These EE architectures had up to 100 ECUs in one car, with one dedicated ECU for one function, and signal-based communication where nearly every ECU did communicate with any other in some way. This structure makes securing the communication very hard. So the network architectures we have now are so-called domain controllers, as shown in the middle. The architecture has structured the network using several subnetworks according to the different domains, like powertrain or infotainment. Every subnetwork is headed by a performance controller, the so-called domain controller. This is a dependability and security supporting architecture. It is performance and connectivity orientated with a service-orientated communication. From that, the evolution goes to centralized functional architectures like shown on the right. With a fully virtualized central high-performance controller, this service-oriented architecture is also a security supporting approach. As it is the easiest to visualize, I want to pick out today's domain controller architecture to show how the architecture supports the protection of the network. One advantage of this architecture compared to the grown EE architectures can be seen at one glance. It breaks down and handles complexity. An important security feature which is not related to cryptography is the reduction of number of wireless entry points of the vehicle to a single point of access for wireless connections. The wireless entry point can communicate over the air to a backend, to the infrastructure, or to other vehicles. It is the most important device to be secured. This ECU is the entry point for attacks from outside and therefore has special focus regarding security. As it is the first ECU to be attacked from outside, it needs to have strongest security measures. We need to consider that a car is not only communicating with the OEM backend, but also with the internet. Maybe it gets downloads from the Google Play Store. There must be a separation or a firewall inside this ECU to separate the communication to the potentially bad outside world. But also important is the separation of the ECUs between the different domains by wire. There is no direct physical connection between ECUs, which do not belong to the same domain. Only the domain controllers do inter-domain communication, and so the according security mechanisms can be concentrated to these performance ECUs. The domain controllers are connected by an Ethernet switch, enabling Ethernet protocol security features. TLS can be used inside the vehicle and for the communication to the backend or the infrastructure. For further breakdown complexity of the system to ensure security in communication, it is helpful to establish trusted zones. Zones can be established within one ECU, between ECUs, within and between networks, within backend and vehicle. What you can see here is that the system which needs to be secured cannot be reduced to an ECU or a car. The system to be secured are the ECUs itself, including high-performance controllers as well as sensors, the bus systems between the ECUs, but also the external communication to the outside world, to the complete car and the infrastructure, but also the backend itself. To protect a single ECU from attacks from the outside world, we can see here also several lines of defense. The wireless access is limited to a single connected ECU, which protects the whole car network from access from outside. Then the ECU is protected by the domain controller from the rest of the network. And of course, also the access to the ECU itself can be protected within its subnetwork. The in-vehicle network security can be completed by an intrusion detection and prevention system. My colleague Joram will now show you what this means and how this system works.
Thank you, Lisa. Argus in-vehicle network protection solution includes several products such as CAN firewall, Ethernet protection, and diagnostic authenticator. In this webinar, I will focus more on the IDPS, intrusion detection and prevention. Argus IDPS looks for cyber attack in the in-vehicle network by monitoring network traffic for deviation in expected messages behavior and characteristics. Analysis of network behavior is performed by an advanced rule-based heuristic detection engine that also utilizes deep packet inspection, DPI technology. The detection engine is based on a behavioral model specifically generated for each vehicle model by taking into consideration of its internal architecture, message database, communication traffic models, and other elements unique to this vehicle model. This behavioral model reflects the vehicle traffic in normal operating condition, and based on this model, Argus IDPS can determine when a message or a series of messages is out of context, anomaly, valid, or in the need for further investigation. Each message that is identified as a cyber attack or as having some anomaly is logged inside the IDPS, and in addition, based on the OEM specification, can be blocked. When IDPS is connected to the cloud, then logs can be uploaded to the cloud and aggregate on user interface so fleet data can be monitored, big data analysis can be performed, and actionable alerts and insights can be received. We'll elaborate on this later. Argus IDPS has been tested and validated by OEM and achieved very good results. In addition, it was ranked as #1 in independent third-party evaluations. The very low latency enabled the IDPS to block the malicious message. The bandwidth needed in order to send the anomalies to the backend is minimal and does not impact the OEM bandwidth consumption. Because the IDPS unique architecture, it can explain why each alert was raised. Based on the leaf of the tree, as opposed to general machine learning method, and it provides an easy way to debug and manage, which by the end of the day reduce significantly the time for finding the root cause for the anomaly. The third line of defense is protecting the external interfaces that are used by the vehicle, such as cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or V2X. As modern vehicles become increasingly connected to the outside world, the exposure to cyber attack increases. The target of this attack are connected ECUs, such as TCU, Telecommunication Control Unit, infotainment, and ADAS. Argus Connectivity Protection is a flexible suite of products that prevent malware installation, detect OS anomalies, isolate suspicious applications, prevent attack propagation to other connected models and the in-vehicle network, and secure the two-way communication channel with the outside world. In the slide, you can see the product that is part of the connectivity protection. Both application hardening and network access filter prevent hacks through advanced hardening. However, unlike everyday IoT devices, vehicles have a lifespan of up to 10 or even 15 years, which give multiple opportunities for an attacker to bypass existing defense. To protect against this threat, connected ECUs require a heuristic threat detection engine to identify when such a breach occurs. Argus OS and network threat detection identify breaches at an entry stage regarding the stage of type of vulnerability exploited and can react autonomously to contain or neutralize the threat. without online connectivity or user interaction. The Argus OS and network threat detection include several sensors that are deployed in the operating system to look for abnormal behavior of processes, thread, system resources, and more. These sensors generate signals that together generate action and alert. The task of securing vehicle from cyber attack is not complete when a vehicle is built and shipped with state-of-the-art cybersecurity solution, as me and Lisa presented in these slides. This is when the real challenge of protecting all the vehicle while it's on the road begins. And this is the reason why a holistic cybersecurity strategy must include an end-to-end cybersecurity throughout the vehicle lifespan. To understand in real time the cyber health of the complete fleet, we provide ongoing situation awareness throughout dashboard that run in the cloud or in the OEM backend and monitor all of our protected vehicles. Bear in mind that car manufacturers and fleet operators today have no visibility as to what's actually going on when it comes to the cyber health status of their fleet. Argus Lifespan Protection provides OEM and fleet manager with an in-depth understanding of the vehicle fleet cyber health and enable the investigation of anomalies, unexpected occurrences, and events taking place in the in-vehicle network and specific components. With the ability to monitor real-time data in an automotive security operations center, the SOC, Argus Lifespan Protection is meant to provide securely information and event management, SIEM, and in an understandable and actionable way, both to SOC operators, security analysts, and incident response, as well as senior executives. Argus Lifespan Protection provides enhanced threat mitigation, a robust capacity for handling cybersecurity incidents, and integrated dashboard for monitoring, analysis, and forensics. With advanced analytic capability, detecting and reporting on cross-fleet events, attack in progress can be effectively mitigated and responded. And now back to you, Lisa.
Thank you. As Joran mentioned, when an attack or vulnerability was detected, we need to be able to respond to attacks or provide updates if a vulnerability is detected to mitigate the damage and immunize the fleets. The fastest way to reach all affected cars are over-the-air updates. Security requires shorter update cycles to fix vulnerabilities in time to prevent from attacks or to respond to attacks. This can only be realized by over-the-air updates. At this point, I just want to give a short outlook on the topic. The topic over-the-air updates includes differential updates and data compression, a secure end-to-end communication and data storage, including distribution and update of certificates for public key infrastructure, and a scalable cloud infrastructure for any size of fleet. Decade-long experience in AUTOSAR, automotive security topics, back-end operations, and vehicle diagnostics are the cornerstones of our over-the-air solutions. Today, Joram and me showed how to establish the 3 principles for trusted protection. We understand the necessary 2 steps to effectively provide multiple layers of security. So EB and Argus solutions can be perfectly combined for connected car security. We provide preventive mechanisms, we provide detection and analysis and forensic capabilities, and the ability to respond to software updates. There is no silver bullet against cyber attacks. To effectively protect vehicles from cyber attacks, multiple layers of protection are required to enable car makers to prevent, understand, and respond to attacks. Now, Joram and me are ready to answer your questions. But if you have further questions or need more information to a specific topic, please visit our websites and get in contact with us. Thank you. And now back to Martin.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Joram, for sharing your insight with us. As I mentioned at the start, the slides will be available, so you will be able to download those. You don't need to worry about having failed to note down everything that you saw on the screens. We'll send you an email to let you know how and when you can access those. We do have an opportunity for Q&A now. We have our panelists available, so if you'd like to ask a question, please type it into the Q&A box on the screen, and I'll put as many relevant questions as possible to Joram and Elizabeth. I'm interested, particularly Elizabeth, in just getting a little bit more understanding from you, the fact that you talked about security, and there's this big link between safety and security, and obviously in German and French and other languages, it's the same word for both. Do you feel that cybersecurity and vehicle safety are linked as far as the vehicle manufacturers are concerned, and that enough is being done to ensure that there is a strong connection between the two?
Thank you, Martin, for this question. Also, the word safety and security have the same word in German. The meaning is very different. Safety protects the system against faults, and security protects the system from attacks from outside. There is no safety without security and vice versa. So also and especially safety critical components need to be protected from cybersecurity attacks. There are various mechanisms which can be applied for security, and there are also some state-of-the-art mechanisms which can be applied for safety. In general, these mechanisms can be combined to ensure safety as well as security. There are different approaches on how to react on safety faults or on a security attack. How the system shall react on a fault or an attack must be defined for every function individually to ensure both and security. Both safety and security, I wanted to say. Yes, so both need to be combined and can be combined.
Okay, thank you. Joram, do you want to add anything to that, or are you?
No, I don't have anything to add here.
Fair enough, okay. We've had some questions come in from the audience, so I'm going to try and mix those in as well as putting a couple of my own questions to you. So if we have a look at what's coming from the audience, what would be the obstacle for software over-the-air updates? What are some of the challenges there? You mentioned that especially towards the end of the presentation, and it does seem to me that, as you said, the quickest way of getting an update to a vehicle is over-the-air. At the same time, that is riddled with all sorts of security challenges. And the question here as well is, I'm suspecting legal issues would be a major challenge. How ready are car markets for over-the-air software updates?
So I start. Do you want to start, Joram?
Yes, I can add to that it's not only a legal issue. It's also, it's almost the first use case of the connected car, to use this connectivity and to update the software inside the car without the need to bring the car to the dealership. But this activity also, open a door for hackers. Like in the example of the researcher from a Chinese university that used this approach in order to hack the Tesla. So in order to implement an over-the-air update solution, this platform should be secure, end-to-end secure. Of course, all the packages should be signed, and all the processes of the handshake between the vehicle and the backend should be also secure. So it's not only the legal, that of course there is a lot of information that should be supplied to the car owner, that he will accept this update, but it's a general concept that needs to be addressed by the OEM from several directions.
Great, thank you. Elizabeth, do you want to add to that?
Yes, I can add something. So I agree with Yoram, and there are some basic elements required for over-the-air updates, which are a backend, an over-the-air master which manages the over-the-air updates inside the vehicle, and a secure communication. Elektrobit and Argus do support all these elements, but we are flexible to support different final solutions. There is, for example, no ECU fix which must be used to implement the over-the-air master. But there is a list of requirements and constraints, especially regarding security, which need to be checked and which need to be fulfilled. The most important when we talk about over-the-air is that the over-the-air solution is part of a security concept. Yes, the over-the-air updates allow the delivery of software updates to the car that can address issues that might be exposed for a security vulnerability, but they are also an open opportunity to attack hacker. That's to attack the car. That's why OTA and security are very strongly connected.
Okay, thank you. I must admit I'm out of my depth on this next question, but I'm going to put it to you, and I hope that you do understand. Is it HSM or TPM that is the root of trust?
Yes, so HSM is a so-called hardware security module, and TPM is a trusted platform modules. Both of them have, let's say, so hardware trust anchor. So both provide hardware security features which can be the root of trust and which can support security or to build up security mechanisms upon this trust anchor. You can use HSMs, or you can use TPMs, or you can also use SHE, that's a secure hardware extension. All of them have in common that they are hardware security features.
Okay, thank you. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about the security mechanisms that you presented today, how relevant they are going forward. Are those security measures that can be updated and can sort of withstand changes in technological advances, also changes within the way hackers operate, or do you see that those measures that you presented have a certain life and that new measures will need to come in as compute power and compute capabilities evolve?
Thank you for this question. Of course. So with security, you're never done. Security needs constant care, and you constantly have to re-evaluate your system, rethink about your security, always have an eye on current technologies, how they evolve, and what possibilities grow from that for hackers. And we have the need to constantly monitor our systems and also update our systems to be ready for the current state of the art. So there might be algorithms broken, there might be new powerful computer technologies, and we always have to monitor and rethink about our security protection during time.
I would add that we are saying that security is a job for life. And here in Argus, we understand in the first weeks of the company that a solution without the ability to be updatable cannot exist. Because as you said, technology, there are new technologies, there are new trends. Also the hackers learn more. The hacking community in automotive are increasing. If in the past it was, several, there are now much more. and they learn from each other, and they have new techniques and new approaches. So it's like a battle between the companies and the hackers. And this is the reason why a system and a security system in the vehicle must be updatable all the time in order to reflect the changes, reflect the new technology, and be prepared for the next hack.
All right, thank you. Yoram, you're going to be on for the next few questions, I think. These will all come in. They're all related to IDPS, but they're all slightly different, so I'm just going to put them to you one after the other. Regarding the Argus IDPS, what type of latency times can be expected?
It's a matter of tenths of microsecond.
Okay. And how long does it take the IDPS to learn the vehicle's normal profile?
So it takes a matter of a few weeks. As I explained in the presentation, we are taking the CAN database or the Ethernet database or other, and we learn the EE architecture of the vehicle. And also, what takes time is the drive test that we are doing with this model. After completing this task, we are entering all the information to our engine, and the output is the, let's say, the decision tree or the heuristic that are implemented inside the vehicle. Usually, it's inside the gateway ECU where most of the CAN segments are connected to.
Okay, thank you. And does the IDPS provide an interface to notify the driver when an alert occurs?
It's possible, but it depends on the OEM strategy. Up to date, I'm not familiar with any OEM that want that the driver will see a cyber attack alert. But again, we have all the necessary infrastructure to do that, but I don't think that it will be in the coming years or at all.
Okay, one more on IDPS. Is there a synergy between SecOc or SecOc and IDPS?
Yes, definitely. Only I think a few months ago we presented together with Elektrobit the integration between SecOc and IDPS. So IDPS provide another layer of verification for SecOc, because when implementing SecOc on CAN, then the probability to break the timing algorithm of the SecOc increases because the number of bytes is very small. So when implementing together with IDPS, this can be prevented, and I think you can read also some material both on Elektrobit website and on Argus website about this integration.
Okay, here's one for Elizabeth. How does Elektrobit ease development and testing of software components when signals exchanged on the bus are encrypted?
So we have a continuous integration and continuous testing of our systems, where we constantly test and evaluate our software products and also the signals on the system. And together with our colleagues from Argus and from Continental, we do consistently test and the signals. We have a wide range of security concepts and software implementations, and we already do that for more than 15 years, and based on that long experience, we have built up a huge testing system and testing environment where we can do that. And these integration systems, they are completed by Argus, which also do, for example, penetration testing.
Okay, we spoke at the very beginning about the link between safety and security. We have a question here. Somebody said that they haven't seen any direct explicit link between safety and security in ISO 26262. So they'd like to know, are there any standards, ISO standards, which do bring this linkage explicitly into the automotive realm?
So thank you for this question. There is no ISO standard at the moment which provides this link. I know that the ISO is working on that. So the ISO 26262 is reflecting the safety processes, and of course there are several standards which can be referenced and addressed for dedicated security purposes. There is, for example, the SAE J3061, and this is a cybersecurity guidebook for cyber physical vehicle systems. It provides a set of high-level guiding principles and framework for a lifecycle process to incorporate cybersecurity into automotive systems, and it is very close to the process described in the ISO 26262.
Okay. Question here about non-network sensor interfaces. Can you discuss the protection on such interfaces, for example, cameras, radar, and LiDAR?
So these interfaces are also part of the networks, like all other ECUs. As I mentioned, from the current trends, it is necessary to have these sensors and actuators on the network to be able to shift functionality from one ECU to another. And so also these components, these sensors and actuators, they also need to be secured, and the network, they are communicating on the network, and this communication must also be secured by the existing mechanisms like a secure onboard communication. This means that they also need to be able to encrypt, or for example, and they can also be part of an intrusion detection system, so they can also be monitored by that.
I just want to add here that if we are looking of probability of a cyber attack, those sensors are less in the list, okay? The probability that hacker will use, let's say, radar, LiDAR, or camera to attack, to do a cyber attack on a vehicle is very low.
Okay, we talked earlier about the evolution of both the computing power and the sort of the skills that hackers have, and versus the technology that we have today. And we've got an interesting question that sort of supports my question, and maybe we can take that discussion a little bit further. With the constantly evolving technologies, how would this impact a connectivity unit built now but used in the vehicle for, let's say, 5 years? So in other words, something that's brought into the vehicle now, how can that still be secure or considered secure in 5 years or more?
So I think we cannot consider it to be secure tomorrow. So that's why we constantly need to monitor the systems and the technologies. We cannot consider anything to be secure in 5 years. And as we think about the life cycle of a vehicle is, let's say, 10 or 15 years or more. And we think that we not even can consider anything to be secure tomorrow. This means that it is more important to re-evaluate everything every day. And so security needs constant care, and there is no silver bullet for security, and that's why it is even more important to have this understanding and this responding to vulnerabilities.
I can add that if you are looking on the, let's say, the new communication standard that will be in 5 years from now, so the two candidates are 5G and V2X, and they are competing against other about who will be the winning standard for communication between cars and communication between the infrastructure and the car. Basically, the effect on a cyber attack, it's, let's say, not so significant, because 5G, it's in terms of the usage of the hacker, it's very similar to 4G. There is no many differences. Maybe the bandwidth is bigger and the latency is higher, but the other elements of providing IP infrastructure to the vehicle are quite the same. I think that the most important part is to have an over-the-air update system that will be able, if needed, to reprogram or change the cybersecurity client that exists in the car in order to meet new threats, new trends, and new communication standards that maybe will happen, you know, in the coming years.
Okay, well, I have a question here that brings this right up to date. I mean, I know we're talking about very current and futuristic things, but this brings it home. I'm not sure how much you're able to say here, but would the solutions that you've illustrated here have protected against the vulnerability that was found last week in VW and Audi cars?
So, yeah, this vulnerability was found about a week ago and was published in the internet and some magazines. Basically, it's the same vulnerability that the famous vulnerability of the Jeep. They found an open port, and through the open port, they ran a malicious code on the infotainment system, and with this malicious code, they succeed to penetrate into the in-vehicle network. So basically, as I described in my presentation, that the connectivity protection that sits in the infotainment system can definitely identify this attack and actually block it from taking it to the in-vehicle network. So, we didn't test it versus this attack, but definitely we tested our solution against the attack that was in Jeep, and we successfully 100% prevent this attack as it was in the Jeep.
Okay, Elizabeth, you got any final thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree to Yoram.
Okay, perfect. Well, we've had a very high number of questions come in today, but unfortunately we have reached the top of the hour and I'm going to have to wrap up at this point. So I'd like to thank Elizabeth and Yoram for taking the time to talk to us today. Thank you to Elektrobit for helping to make this webinar possible, and thank you of course to everybody who joined the webinar and sent in questions. As I said, you'll be able to access the slides. We'll send you a link to let you know how and when you can access those, as well as an on-demand recording of the event. And with that, I'd like to thank you for attending and look forward to seeing you at the next MEGATRENDS webinar. Thank you very much, and goodbye.